The galaxy had long forgotten the voice of humanity. Centuries had passed since their last ships crossed the busy trade routes. Once, human colonies had stretched across dozens of star systems, their cities bright with life and their fleets proud and restless. Then, without warning, they were gone. No war had taken them away. No great disaster had been recorded. Instead, one by one, their settlements grew silent. Merchant ships arrived to find empty ports and abandoned streets. Farming worlds stood still with crops left to rot under foreign suns. Entire planets were left behind, their buildings slowly claimed by nature. Other civilizations searched for them, but no trace was found. Some thought humans had destroyed themselves, others believed they had gone searching for a better home far away. Over time, their name became a story told in quiet moments. Traders spoke of the stubborn and clever humans who once defied great empires. Soldiers remembered how they fought even when defeat seemed certain. Children on distant worlds heard bedtime tales about the mysterious wanderers who had vanished into the endless dark, yet few truly believed they would return. On the crowded trade world of Vereen, the days were busy as always. Vereen was a planet of markets and spaceports, where ships from every corner of the galaxy came to exchange goods. Towering platforms held landing bays, and in the skies above, small craft darted between heavy freighters. The air was thick with the scent of alien spices and the hum of languages from 100 different worlds. Inside the tall spire of the Vereen Communications Guild, hundreds of operators worked at glowing consoles. Their job was to track signals across the galaxy, trade messages, distress calls, navigation beacons, and sometimes strange transmissions from the unknown. Most days were routine. The hum of data was steady and predictable. Then came the signal. It was faint at first, almost lost in the noise of the network. A junior operator named Lorne noticed a slight change in the static pattern. He leaned forward, adjusting the filters on his screen. What emerged was a narrow beam of sound, repeating at exact intervals. At the heart of the signal was a single image. The emblem was simple, a circle of 12 stars around a blue-white world, with the shape of a human hand in the center. Lorne froze as he recognized it from the old archives. It was the ancient seal of the United Systems of Humanity. He called for his supervisor, and within moments the room was filled with officials. The signal was traced to a deep region of space beyond the Orion Edge, a place far outside regular travel lanes. It was repeating every hour, steady and unchanged. The Guild immediately sent copies to the planetary government, and by nightfall the news had spread across Vereen. Crowds gathered in public squares to watch the repeating message on giant holoscreens. Some stared in silence, others whispered to each other, wondering if it could be real. On the following day, the Vereen Council sent a request to the Galactic Records Hall. Archivists confirmed that the emblem matched the last official seal used by humanity before their disappearance. The signal's timing and structure also suggested advanced communication technology far beyond what most civilizations currently used. Speculation ran wild. Was it a relic, an old automated beacon that had somehow survived the centuries? Or was it a real message from a living human fleet? The more the scientists studied it, the more questions arose. The signal was not just broadcasting in normal space. It was also pulsing through hyperspace layers in a way no one on Vereen had seen before. That meant whoever sent it could reach across enormous distances without delay. This was a capability far ahead of the galaxy's current communication methods. Rumors began to grow. Some said the humans had found new worlds beyond known space and had grown stronger there. Others claimed they had discovered alien allies even more powerful than themselves. A few darker voices warned that if humans had survived, they might return with the intention to reclaim every system they had once held, far from Vereen. On the council world of Tarvos Prime, political leaders debated behind closed doors. The more cautious members urged for quiet investigation before taking public action. Others pushed for immediate contact, believing that a returned humanity could become either the greatest ally or the greatest threat the galaxy had seen in centuries. Meanwhile, in the space between stars, Small scout vessels were already moving toward the source of the transmission. These ships came from different powers, some sent by governments, others by private factions seeking information they could sell. Each crew hoped to be the first to uncover the truth. In the days that followed, more details of the message emerged. Hidden inside the broadcast was a short line of text in Standard Galactic. "We are coming home." No more words, no explanation. Just that single statement repeated over and over. The message sent a shiver through many who heard it. It was neither a greeting nor a threat. It was a promise. And promises from humanity had always carried weight. Merchants worried about changes to trade routes. Generals ordered updates on their fleets. Some ordinary citizens felt excitement at the thought of meeting the long-lost race, while others felt a quiet unease. The galaxy had lived without humans for so long that many had grown used to their absence. The return of such a people could shift the balance of everything. On Vereen, Lorne walked through the night streets, listening to the discussions around him. The air was alive with energy, as if the whole planet was holding its breath. Street vendors argued about whether humans would come in peace. Old veterans told stories of battles fought alongside them. Traders speculated about what goods they might bring. Children asked their parents what humans looked like. Lorne found himself staring up at the stars. Somewhere beyond the reach of his eyes, something vast was moving toward them. The signal was clear, the message unwavering. Humanity had broken their silence after centuries, and whatever the reasons, they were coming back. The question that hung in the air, unspoken but present in every mind, was simple. What would they bring with them when they arrived? The signal from humanity had spread across the galaxy like a spark in dry grass. Within days, it reached the great capitals of the oldest civilizations. On worlds of ice and in cities floating on oceans, leaders gathered in council chambers to speak of the message. In the high halls of the Valoran Assembly, delegates from dozens of species filled the chamber. The air shimmered with the heat of the great lights overhead. At the center, a large sphere displayed the emblem found in the human transmission, a circle of 12 stars around a blue-white world, with a hand in the center. The emblem turned slowly for all to see. A tall, pale-skinned Valoran stepped forward. His voice carried across the chamber. "The humans have sent us a signal after centuries of absence. We do not know their purpose. We do not know their strength. But we must act before they arrive." The delegates responded in different ways. Some spoke of opportunity. If humans had advanced far beyond the current level of technology, an alliance could benefit all. Others spoke with suspicion. They remembered the stubborn nature of humanity from old records, how they resisted larger empires and refused to yield in wars. On the distant ocean world of Kiroth, the Council of Tides met in a hall carved into the side of a great cliff. Waves crashed below as the leaders studied the data. The eldest among them, a being with skin like polished stone, spoke slowly. "The message says they are coming home. But where is home to them now? The worlds they left behind are no longer theirs. Will they accept this, or will they demand what they once owned?" Not far from these political meetings, fleets were quietly being prepared. Warships were pulled from repair docks and loaded with supplies. Patrol routes near the edge of known space were strengthened. No one wanted to be caught unready if the returning humans brought more than words. In the vast emptiness near the Orion edge, the first scout ships arrived at the source of the signal. One was the Silver Current, a small and fast vessel crewed by the lean and quick-thinking Theran people. Its captain, Nirl, had been promised a great reward by his government if he could return with any proof of the human fleet. The Silver Current moved through the silent region. Stars glimmered against the deep black, but the area felt strangely dim. Nirl ordered the crew to scan all frequencies. The human signal was strong here, echoing in their instruments like a steady heartbeat. Yet there were no visible ships, no stations, nothing but emptiness. Hours later, the crew detected faint distortions ahead, as if space itself were bending. Then, without warning, their instruments went wild. A ripple passed across their view, and for a moment, Nirl thought he saw something vast, structures moving in perfect silence. But before his eyes could focus, the image faded. and the readings returned to normal. "What was that?" one of the crew whispered. Nero did not answer. He simply marked the coordinates and turned the silver current back toward friendly space. Whatever he had seen was far larger than anything built in this galaxy. Meanwhile, on the capital world of Tarvos Prime, the Galactic Council convened. The leaders sat in a great circle, their faces lit by the soft glow of the chamber's central star map. Representatives from military fleets, trade unions, and research guilds filled the surrounding seats. A senior counselor from the Ural Dominion stood. "We cannot ignore this. Our scouts are reporting unusual readings from the source of the human signal. If they have developed technology to hide entire fleets, they may already be here. We must decide our position now." Some argued for a message of welcome, others demanded immediate preparation for war. A few suggested staying silent, believing that any reply might reveal weakness. In the markets and ports across the galaxy, the people talked of little else. En Vreen, merchants began to store away rare metals and food supplies, fearing a change in trade patterns. Some small systems announced they would close their borders until the situation became clear. Lorne, the young operator who had first detected the signal, found himself answering endless questions from visitors. Many wanted to see the original data, to hear the exact sound of the human message. Lorne showed them when allowed, though he kept his own thoughts quiet. He remembered the feeling he had the first time he heard those words. It was not fear, but it was not peace either. It was the weight of something unknown approaching. In the second week after the signal appeared, more transmissions were detected. They came from other points along the Orion Edge, always with the same emblem and the same phrase, "We are coming home." The pattern suggested movement, as if a vast formation were slowly entering the galaxy. On the border world of Rinler, a military patrol ship spotted a strange phenomenon. Stars along the edge of their sensors seemed to blink out for a few seconds, then return. The captain reported it at once, and within hours, the information reached the highest councils. Scientists began to study the effect. Some believed it was a natural disturbance in space. Others believed it was the shadow of something enormous moving between the stars. The more the galaxy studied, the less it understood. The humans had not replied to any attempts at contact. The only words remained the same: "We are coming home." In the great archives, historians pulled out old records of the last human fleets. They compared ship designs, fleet movements, and strategies. What they found was a pattern of bold risk-taking, sudden strikes, and unbreakable defenses. They remember how humans fought in the Great Wars not with overwhelming numbers, but with speed, cunning, and a refusal to give up. These memories were enough to make some counselors uneasy. If humanity had advanced far beyond their old strength, they could be unlike any power the galaxy had ever faced. By the end of the month, the galaxy stood on edge. Scout ships reported more distortions along the Orion Edge. Trade routes shifted to avoid the area. War fleets moved quietly into position, and spies gathered every scrap of information they could find. Far away, unseen by any telescope, a vast presence moved closer, hidden in the deep layers of space, where light bent and sound could not travel. The returning humans advanced toward the galaxy they had left behind. The signal continued without pause. "We are coming home." And across the galaxy, from the smallest trading post to the grandest capital, no one could truly say whether that was a promise or a warning. The first sighting of the returning humans came from the border system of Relora. It was a quiet place, known for its mining colonies and small trade outposts. Most ships that passed through were cargo haulers or local transports. Nothing remarkable had happened there in years. That changed when the Stellar Wind, a patrol vessel of the Reloran Defense Fleet, picked up a massive energy reading. Captain Avane of the Stellar Wind was an experienced officer. He had seen strange things before: unstable stars, drifting derelicts, and even a few pirate ambushes. But the readings now on his display were unlike anything he had encountered. The ship's scanners showed something enormous moving at the edge of the system. Its size was so great that the computer struggled to calculate it. The crew worked quickly, adjusting the sensors. Slowly, the image came into focus. At first, It looked like a single ship, but as the details sharpened, the truth became clear. It was not one vessel. It was a vast formation of linked ships, so many that they seemed to form a moving city in space. The formation glided forward without a sound. The ships were sleek, their surfaces reflecting no light. Dark panels and strange curves made them almost blend into the black around them. Between the ships were great connecting structures, like bridges of silver and shadow. Some carried what looked like gardens or open plazas. Others held towers that glimmered faintly with blue light. Captain Avane stared at the sight. "Open a channel," he ordered. His voice was steady, but his mind raced. No known fleet in the galaxy looked like this. The comms officer sent out a greeting in Standard Galactic, then repeated it in several older human languages stored in the archives. There was no reply. The formation kept moving, steady and silent. Then, a single ship broke away from the formation. It was smaller than the others, but still larger than the stellar wind. Its hull was smooth, almost seamless, with no visible weapons or markings except for the old human emblem near the bow. It approached with measured speed and stopped a short distance from the patrol ship. A signal arrived, audio only. A voice spoke in perfect Standard Galactic, calm and clear. "This is the vanguard of humanity. We request safe passage. We carry no harm for those who do not seek to harm us." The words carried a weight beyond their sound. Avane's crew exchanged glances. No one spoke for a moment. Captain Avane replied carefully. "This is the Reloran Defense Fleet Patrol Ship Stellar Wind. Your signal has been received. The galaxy has not heard from humanity in centuries. Where have you come from?" The voice answered with no hesitation. "From beyond the mapped stars, from the silence between galaxies. We return now, and we will pass through." Avane wanted to ask more, but before he could speak again, the smaller ship turned and glided back toward the vast formation. Without changing pace, the human fleet moved on, heading deeper into the galaxy. The moment was brief, but the image and recording were sent across the galaxy within hours. Everywhere, the sight of the human fleet became the single topic of discussion. On news channels, experts analyzed every detail of the ships. Some pointed out that the vessels seemed to bend the light around them. Others noted that their movement suggested they had no need for conventional engines. In the Galactic Council, the first visual of the fleet brought silence to the chamber. The images of the linked city ships filled the great screens. Even those who had argued for caution were now uneasy. A counselor from the Zalar Republic spoke first. "This is not a returning colony fleet. This is something far greater. Look at the scale of their vessels. Look at the way they move. This is technology beyond our own." In the weeks before this sighting, some leaders had thought that humans might return as traders or settlers. Now, it was clear they were something else entirely. On the ocean world of Kiroth, the Council of Tides studied the images. Elder Center, the one with skin like polished stone, spoke again. "These are not the same humans who left. They are changed. We must decide how we will meet them, open-handed or with our defenses ready." Across the galaxy, fleets were put on alert. While some leaders spoke of welcome, no one ignored the possibility of danger. The humans had said they carried no harm for those who did not seek to harm them. But what counted as harm in their eyes was unknown. Meanwhile, in the mining colonies of Relora, ordinary people gathered to watch the recordings of the passing fleet. Some were awed by its beauty. Others were unsettled by its silence. Children asked their parents why the humans had so many ships linked together. No one could answer with certainty. Anvarine, Lorne watched the footage late into the night. He saw the gardens suspended between the ships, the strange towers, and the dark hulls that swallowed starlight. He imagined what life might be like aboard those vessels, traveling between galaxies, carrying the memory of a home long left behind. The scientists of the Varine Communications Guild studied the signals from the fleet. They found layers of coded information hidden within the broadcast. It was not in any known language, but it repeated in a steady rhythm, as if marking time. Some believed it was navigation data. Others thought it might be a message to other human ships still beyond the galaxy. 3 days after the first sighting, more fleets were reported entering through other border systems. They all moved in the same direction toward the central regions of the galaxy. None stopped to speak beyond the brief, formal message requesting safe passage. For the first time in centuries, the name of humanity was spoken with both awe and caution in equal measure. Old stories of their courage and defiance were told again. At the same time, new questions rose. What had they faced out there in the silent dark? What had shaped them into this great moving city of ships? No one could yet answer. The only certainty was that humanity had returned stronger and stranger than before, and they were moving forward with a purpose that no one could yet see. And so the galaxy watched, waited, and wondered what would come next. The Galactic Council chamber on Tarvos Prime was a ring of tall silver pillars. Under a wide dome of glass, from here, the leaders of the most powerful civilizations could see the blue-white glow of the capital's sky. Beneath that glow, the tension was heavy. The images of the human fleet floated above the central table, projected by the chamber's systems. Dozens of counselors studied them in silence. Every vessel in the formation was displayed towers linked by bridges, dark hulls that seemed to drink in the light, and vast sections that looked like gardens hanging in space. Council Speaker Muriel, a calm-voiced figure from the Solari Union, opened the meeting. Representatives, you have all seen the recordings from Rellora. You have read the reports from the patrol ships. The humans have returned, and they are unlike any force in our current age. We must decide how to respond. A representative from the Zalar Republic spoke first. Their message is clear. They claim they bring no harm unless harm is brought to them. But what if their view of harm is not ours? What if our very refusal to yield territory is seen as a threat? From the far side of the chamber, Admiral Tehran of the Valoran Assembly rose to speak. His tall frame was marked with the sharp lines of his people's armor. If they are as advanced as their ships suggest, no fleet in the galaxy can face them in open battle. If we wish to protect our worlds, we must understand them. That means speaking with them directly before they decide their path. A counselor from the Drenari hives shifted uneasily, and if they do not wish to speak, they have ignored every signal except for their single phrase. They move as if their course is fixed. There is no sign they will slow for us. The debate grew louder. Some argued for diplomacy, sending envoys to meet the fleet in neutral space. Others pressed for a defensive plan, moving warships to key systems in case the humans turn hostile. A few even suggested that the galaxy should unite its fleets now and confront them before they reached the core worlds. The chamber's great dome dimmed as the star map lit up. A network of glowing lines marked the human fleet's known movements. The dots representing their massive city ships formed a slow but steady arc toward the inner galaxy. The path passed close to several important systems worlds rich in trade, history, and strategic value. Speaker Muriel called for silence. We will not act in fear alone, but neither will we act in blindness. Each of you will send observers to follow the fleet at a safe distance. We will gather information before making any permanent decision. Beyond the political halls, the galaxy was already reacting. In the shipyards of the Valoran Assembly, production shifted to building faster reconnaissance craft. The Zalar Republic ordered its patrols to avoid direct engagement but to keep constant watch. The Drenari hives moved resources to their deeper colonies, preparing for possible disruption of their trade routes on Vreen. The news was everywhere. Merchants watched the updates on public holoscreens between customers. Students in learning halls discussed the possible return of human trade goods. Retired soldiers spoke of old stories, when human ships had once fought alongside their own during border conflicts. Some remember that those humans had been fierce allies, others that they had been unpredictable. In the Communications Guild where Lorne worked, a new assignment arrived from the Planetary Council. His team was tasked with monitoring all transmissions linked to the human fleet. Every strange signal, every fragment of data was to be logged and sent to Tarvos Prime. Late one night, Lorne stayed behind to listen to the human broadcast. The phrase "we are coming home" played in a steady rhythm. He thought about the word home. Did it mean a planet they had left behind? Did it mean the whole galaxy? Or did it mean something far more personal to them? While the galaxy debated, the human fleet continued its slow advance. Scouts sent images of the ships at different angles. Some vessels had open structures, their interiors glowing with gardens and running water. Others were sealed in dark armor, with strange patterns, like living veins across their surfaces. The movement of the entire formation was perfectly synchronized, as if they were parts of one great living machine. On the ocean world of Kirov, Elder Center called his council together. "We cannot stand apart from this," he said. "If these humans have crossed the darkness between galaxies, they have faced dangers we cannot yet imagine. We must learn what those dangers are, for if they are coming here, they may not be coming alone." His words reflected a fear that was spreading. Quietly, some scientists began to wonder if humanity's return was not only about reclaiming territory or reconnecting with their old home. What if something had forced them to leave the space beyond? What if they were fleeing? In a small research station orbiting the star Myron, astronomers noticed unusual readings far beyond the Orion edge. Entire patches of the sky showed a regular dimming, as if something enormous was passing in front of distant stars. The effect was faint, but it matched some of the early reports from scouts near the human fleet. When these findings reached the Galactic Council, they were not shared with the public. The Council wanted more proof before alarming the galaxy, but in private, the fear grew. If the humans had indeed been in a long war beyond the galaxy, then whatever they had fought might be following them back in the council chamber. Speaker Muriel closed the meeting with firm words. "The humans are coming. We will not decide their intent for them, but we will be ready. Every fleet will maintain a defensive posture. Every intelligence network will focus on their movements. And if the chance for dialogue comes, we will take it without hesitation." The decision was careful, balanced between caution and hope, but outside those polished silver walls, ships were already on the move. Alliances were forming in secret. Old rivalries between powers were put aside, at least for the moment. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt the presence of a single shared question. Would the return of humanity mark a new era of unity, or the beginning of a storm unlike any before? And as the human fleet glided through the deep black, silent except for their steady message, the answer remained far beyond reach. The human fleet's steady approach had kept the galaxy tense for many weeks. They moved without changing speed, without showing weapons, and without answering any questions beyond their single phrase. Yet one day, without any sign of warning, a small human vessel separated from the great formation. It was unlike the towering city ships. This vessel was smooth and curved, shaped almost like a leaf of silver metal. It glided ahead toward the neutral station of Keller's Reach, a large hub known for peace talks between rival powers. The station's commanders debated quickly, then allowed the vessel to dock. When the docking gates opened, a group of human envoys stepped forward. They were tall and strong, their movements calm. Their clothing was simple but made of a strange fabric that shimmered in the light. None carried visible weapons. The leader of the group introduced himself as Korin, a representative of the vanguard of humanity. His voice was deep and steady. He thanked the station for its welcome and said he had a message for the entire galaxy. The council chamber of Keller's Reach filled quickly. Delegates from many species sat in a wide circle. While the humans stood in the center, Korin began to speak. "Many centuries ago, we left this galaxy. We did not leave because we were defeated. We left because we had seen a threat that none were ready to face. We crossed into the silence between galaxies to learn and to prepare. We have returned now because that threat is coming here." His words brought an uneasy stir among the delegates. To prove his point, Korin presented the first gift. From a small case, the humans revealed a smooth crystal device. When activated, it projected an image in the era map of a galaxy, marked with hundreds of bright points. Korin explained that these points represented worlds where the humans' technology could cure diseases that had resisted every known medicine. "We offer this freely," Korin said. "It is not a trade. It is not a bargain. It is a gift for all who live in this galaxy." The station's medical officers examined the device and confirmed its potential within minutes. Even the most skeptical delegates could not hide their surprise. But before hope could spread too far, Korn spoke. Again, his next words were quiet but heavy. Beyond the outer rim, in the deep dark between galaxies, there is a force that consumes. It does not trade. It does not speak. It leaves nothing living in its path for centuries. We have fought to hold it back. We have lost worlds to it. Now, it moves toward this galaxy. Its reach will be here within the span of one lifetime. The images in the projection changed. The delegates saw stars dimming one by one, whole regions of space turning black. Then came the shapes, vast shadows with outlines that shifted like clouds. No features, no faces, only a sense of scale so great that ships were like dust beside them. Murmurs rose in the chamber. Some doubted the images, calling them tricks to create fear. Others leaned forward, their eyes sharp, recognizing that the humans had no reason to invent such a story. Korn continued, "We have returned not to rule, not to take back what was ours, but to stand here with you against what comes. Alone, no world can stop it. Together, we may have a chance." Questions followed. A delegate from the Valoran assembly asked how long they had before this threat arrived. Korn answered simply, "We do not know the exact moment, but we know. It is moving fast. We have already seen its edges touch systems far beyond your maps." A Zalar representative asked why humanity had waited so long to return. Korn's expression did not change. "We could not return before we were ready. We needed strength, knowledge, and unity within our own people. The dark between galaxies is not a place one survives by chance. Every ship you see in our fleet is the result of centuries of work and sacrifice." The meeting ended with mixed feelings. Some delegates were moved by the gift and the warning. Others left unconvinced, believing the humans might be using the story to gain influence. Yet word of the gift spread faster than doubt. Across the galaxy, healers received copies of the crystal's designs. Within days, cures began appearing in hospitals. Diseases that had lingered for generations were gone in hours. Families celebrated in streets, in open plazas. In the eyes of many citizens, the humans had already proved themselves as allies still. The leaders of great powers met in private. They discussed military readiness, possible alliances, and the question of whether the humans were telling the whole truth. If the threat was real, then the galaxy would have to prepare for war unlike any before. If it was false, then they were arming a people whose true plans were still unknown. In the quiet hours after the meeting, Korn stood on the viewing deck of Keller's Reach. The stars stretched in every direction, cold and bright. Beside him, one of his fellow envoys spoke softly. "They do not all believe us." Korn nodded. "They will. When the first shadow touches their own borders, they will." Far away, the great city ships of humanity waited in the dark, their lights steady, their engines silent, and their core hidden from all outside view. Were weapons and shields unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They were not built for conquest. They were built for survival. And in the space beyond sight, somewhere past the Orion edge, a vast darkness continued its slow approach. The stars beyond the Orion edge were quiet, calm as always. But this peace was only a mask hiding growing danger. At the outermost observation posts, the sensors had begun to detect strange signals, weak at first, almost like static, but soon growing stronger. Commander Rila of the Kyrith observation station stared at the screen in disbelief. The readings showed entire star systems flickering and dimming one after another. Nearby planets lost their warmth and color. The light from distant suns faded as if something vast was swallowing them. She reported immediately to the Galactic Council. The message was short but urgent. "Shadows at the edge. The threat is real and advancing." The news spread quickly. Across the galaxy, fleets shifted position. Scientists scrambled to understand what was happening. Some called it a natural phenomenon, others a new kind of cosmic storm. But the pattern was clear. It was not natural. In the core worlds, leaders gathered again. The warning from the humans, once doubted by many, now gained new weight. The dark shapes Korn had shown were no longer just images. They were coming. Fleet commanders across many species, prepared their ships, weapon systems were tested, shields raised, and emergency protocols updated. The galaxy was on edge, but still divided. Some believed cooperation with humanity was the only chance. Others wanted to keep them at arm's length, fearing unknown motives. In the human fleet, the commanders held their own council, the city ships. Carters were quiet, but their hearts beat with the urgency of coming war. Admiral Nara, leader of the Vanguard's defense forces, addressed her officers. "We have trained for this for centuries. We lived to prepare, and now it is time to stand. Our technology, our unity, our will to survive these will be tested like never before." Her voice was steady, but those who heard it knew the weight behind the words. Back on Kyrith, Commander Rila watched a new development. From the flickering stars came shapes, massive forms moving slowly but surely through space. They had no sharp edges, no clear structure. They looked like living clouds, shifting and changing with every moment. When they passed near star systems, the stars dimmed further. Any ships that tried to approach the forms were met with sudden bursts of energy that disrupted their systems. Several patrol vessels lost contact and were presumed destroyed. The galaxy's fleets now faced a threat unlike any seen before. It was not a fleet of ships, but a dark wave that consumed and erased everything in its path. In the council chambers, Speaker Muriel called for unity. "This is no time for old rivalries. The Shadow Force threatens all of us. We must combine our knowledge and strength with humanity's if we are to survive." The Valoran Assembly sent envoys to the human fleet. The first meetings were cautious, but hopeful. The humans shared what they knew: advanced weapon designs, shield technology, and tactics they had used in the silent void between galaxies. One scientist from the Drenari hives, named Vera, worked closely with human engineers. She marveled at the designs. Their technology is not just advanced, it is alive, adapting and learning. If we can understand it, we might have a chance on the front lines. Fleets began to prepare for the inevitable clash. The human city ships moved into defensive formations, creating barriers that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Their energy shields shimmered like giant bubbles, ready to absorb the first blows. Across the galaxy, hope mixed with fear. Many wondered if this time the long silence would end in destruction or survival. As the shadows drew closer, they seemed to sense the growing resistance. Their advance slowed but did not stop. In the empty space between stars, they waited for the moment to strike again. In a quiet moment, Admiral Nara stood on the observation deck of the largest city ship. She looked out at the stars, darkened now by the approaching threat. "We will not let the silence swallow us," she said softly to herself. "We fight for every world, every life. We are the return of humanity, and we will stand." The void ahead was filled with shadows that moved like waves. The great human city ships and the allied fleets formed a massive barrier, glowing shields holding back the darkness. The silence before the storm was thick and heavy, like the moment before thunder breaks in the sky. Admiral Nara stood on the command bridge of the flagship Aegis. Her eyes scanned the starfield where the first shadow clouds had begun to take shape. The crews around her moved with quiet focus, prepared for the moment when the enemy would strike. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ships. The dark shapes surged forward, reaching out with tendrils of energy that pulsed with cold light. The first wave of attack crashed against the shields, and the entire fleet shook. The shields flickered but held. Energy weapons fired from every ship in reply, bright beams cutting into the shadows. The darkness writhed and shifted, but it did not retreat. Instead, it pressed harder, pushing the fleets toward their limits. Commander Rila, watching from her station on Kyrith observation post, reported quickly. "The shadows are resistant to conventional weapons. Our scans show their structure is unlike anything living or machine-made. They adapt to every attack in response." The human engineers activated new weapons devices that pulsed with strange energies drawn from the fabric of space itself. The beams sliced through the shadows, causing parts to dissipate into nothingness. Still, the darkness was vast. The battle stretched over hundreds of kilometers of space. Ships on all sides fought with every resource, firing missile salvos, activating defensive fields, and coordinating through fast communication links. The council representatives watched the battle through live feeds. Speaker Muriel spoke with quiet determination. This is more than a fight for survival. It is a test of our unity. We must fight together or fall divided. On the battlefield, tensions were high. When one ship's shield failed, others rushed to cover it. Fleets from different species saved one another with skill and bravery. Old enemies fought side by side for the first time in centuries. Amid the chaos, Admiral Nara made a bold decision. Prepare the core pulse weapon. This is our last hope if the shields break. We will use it only if there is no other choice. The core pulse was a device built by humanity during their long exile. It could release a massive burst of energy, powerful enough to destroy a large area of space, but it came with great risk. If used wrongly, it could damage nearby worlds or weaken the fleet's defenses. As the shadows pressed closer, the pulse weapon charged slowly. The human city ships glowed brighter, their energy systems reaching full power. Allies watched anxiously, knowing this weapon might be their only chance. Then the moment came. One of the Allied ships was struck hard. Its shield shattered, and it began to break apart. A silent cry went through the fleets. Admiral Nara's voice rang out calmly but firmly. Activate the core pulse now. A wave of blue-white energy exploded from the flagship. The space around it shimmered and trembled. The shadows screamed and recoiled, their forms breaking apart like smoke and wind. For a moment, the darkness seemed defeated. The stars brightened again, and hope returned to the hearts of the fighters. But the victory was only the beginning. From the broken shadows rose smaller forms. Faster and more dangerous, the battle would continue, longer and harder than anyone had hoped. Still, the unity forged in this fight was strong. Humans and aliens shared strategies, repaired damaged ships, and stood together without fear. The promise of a new future, one built on cooperation and courage, glowed brighter than any weapon. On the command bridge, Admiral Nara looked out at the stars and smiled. For the first time in many years, we came back. After centuries of silence, she said softly, "Now we will shine together. This is only the first light of war, but it will not be our last. We will fight. We will survive. We will build a galaxy worthy of every star." And with that, the battle continued, a fierce dance of light and shadow where the fate of many worlds hung in the balance.